Yeah, see, that I almost think is its own thing at that point. So what are we going to pad this out with?
Well, do you want to just ramble about Conquest?
Yeah, I mean, we can.
We can do it. Let's do a Ramblecast. Fuck it. We're allowed to do... So we're going to do episode...
So it's finally come to this. A Ramblecast.
Yeah. This is going to be the fucking opening. Jesus.
I don't mind it. It's interesting the feedback that I get from people when I talk about how long our episodes are, because some people like there's just really a huge swath of preference in terms of what people want from the radio for the internet age.
Oh, it's
a humble podcast. Some people want it to be their whole life, and other people are just like, give me 10 minutes.
Yeah, and like I'm very much a long format kind of guy. So like personally, is never gonna do it for me.
Yeah, like to me, for something like a podcast, just because it's not intuitive for me to spend time on it, which is ironic. Anything less than an hour doesn't really seem like it seems like an hour would be the minimum. Yeah, but I feel like I've listened to some half-hour and 45-minute podcasts that were pretty good too. So it's not like it's impossible.
Did you listen to Sexton Chilla's podcast? His ramble on what the fuck was it? Chieftain shit?
No, I need to listen to that still.
It's actually pretty goddamn good.
I don't doubt it. So far, and I hope that you leave this in so that everybody hears me just shamelessly pandering to the community. But generally speaking, the Conquest content creation community is quite good, and I like a lot of the other creators that we've encountered, and so I hope that they continue to do work and succeed and find it rewarding.
I do too, because like, god damn it, I don't want to listen to myself all the fucking time.
Yeah,
I was telling that to the Just Roll Runs guys on Sunday. I'm like, thank fuck, there's other like content.
Yeah,
because for quite a while there was just like Vanguard Garage Gaming, and they would release an episode every 2 years.
Yeah.
Welcome to BonkTable. I'm Mass, and this is my co-host Mike.
Hello.
Hello. For today's episode, we have decided that we're just going to ramble off about Conquest. What you're going to get is whatever you're going to get. I know Mike has feelings on the Dwag changes, and so do I, so we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about some other stuff about Conquest.
And let me tell you, they're going to be, like, if you thought my stuff when I was, before the patch was hot and crazy and just, like, irrational and angry, you're not even going to believe the insane shit that I have in store for you tonight. Get your getting hit in the whole face and everything clothing on, because we're rolling into a huge take festival. Sorry, I think it'll be funny when it's just not like that at all. Even though I'm ruining the joke by saying that.
I think we're gonna start talking about Dwag, and then we're gonna transition to Spires, and then Nords, and Dodger. We're just gonna fucking.
And then the PlayStation 2 game that I thought of.
Oh man, we should play Jet Set Radio. That was a fucking great game. I actually I linked that to the Just Roll Ones guys, because they were talking about Need for Speed 2's soundtrack, and I was like, oh, Need for Speed 2, you gotta listen to Jet Set Radio.
Yeah, Jet Set Radio is a classic. They did a new one.
Wait, there's a Jet Set Radio 2?
Well, so there's a new one that has a different name, and I'm like, I can't remember. It's an homage. One? God, I don't remember.
Oh, it's.
I'm gonna see if I can figure it out without disrupting the podcast too much. I'm gonna have to use all of my tasking skills.
Executive function activate.
It's got a name like that where it's like something third thing. It's like, but it's not quite the same. It's like instead of jet grind radio, it's like submarine. SOAR television or something.
Dear God.
Yeah.
We've achieved Nirvana. No one can stop us.
Yeah, there's Jet Set or Jet Grind Radio, and then there's Jet Grind Radio Future, but then there's this, I swear to God, there's a new one that's called, like, I don't know, Carface Triplicate or something. Like, it's got some...
Fuck it. What is the song called? The Power of Love, I think is the song. No. Wow, there's some Back to the Future level shit in here.
Bomb Rush Cyberfunk!
Oh, Jesus Christ. Bomb Rush Cyberfunk. Oh, wow. Oh. God damn it. Fuck me. Okay, I might have to play this. Shit. Everyone stop the podcast! I'm gonna go play a game for the next while.
Story of my life.
Yeah, we have already rambled off.
Yep. Giving the people exactly. You know what though? We always give what we say we're gonna do.
That is true.
No bait and switch with this podcast. When we say we don't have a huge amount of direction for this one, by God, you're gonna hear it.
We should do listener questions at some point.
Oh my fucking God! Yes.
Like, okay, listeners. If you want listener questions, join the BonkTable Discord. In the general, just say at me and be like, where's the listener question channel? I will then make the channel, and then you guys can just fill it with whatever you want. And if we get a good enough amount, we'll do it. And are we going to let them ask anything, or are we going to have to veto some of them? Because I feel like some of them are getting pretty wild if our, like, just off the top of my head from our, like, the people in our Discord. Oh my God.
So, okay, here's what I think the rule should be. You have veto power, but I get to argue for why we should answer the question.
Okay, so you're gonna... Okay, yeah, you know, I'm fine with that. We'll do that. That sounds fun. All right.
Yeah.
So, what do we got? We got real week of Parabellum news. For PB News, it's really just been the Michigan GT and the London GT. So you can.
We should look at those results actually, since we're just kind of talking about whatever.
Oh yeah, sure. Like,
sorry, that just came to me, but that's actually something that is worth, I think, looking at.
Okay, so I have the Michigan.
There was some interesting stuff.
And then do I not have the London GT long tables? Or not long tables, long shanks. Okay, so there's the Michigan GT.
Every time I hear long shanks, my brain wants to make a joke focused around the word regular shanks. And it's a sickness. It's a sickness in my brain.
Yeah, we know.
No, but like this is different from the ones that have become extremely apparent in the months since we've been doing this. Every time I'm just like, oh, long shanks. Well, why don't we start with regular shanks? And if we like it, terrible. I should go to jail for that. How do you find? I only know how to navigate this website on my phone. The Conquest website.
Really?
Like I'm trying to find.
Okay. Go to our PB News in our BonkTable Discord, and then.
Oh wow, that's so helpful.
And if you scroll up, there's one that says Conquest Last Iron Kings Michigan GT 2023, and you click on that, and it takes you right there. Yeah, like I think you and me are the only two people who can throw shit in here, and it's basically just me.
I don't, it's not that I don't... Listen, let me tell you something about that.
What?
It's not that I don't want to do things, it's just I know how easy it is for me to get distracted and start ruining everything.
Yeah, we know, we have 100%.
Yeah, I mean, you're on the Discord, But, no, we can definitely have a look at these lists. I think that's a good idea in these players. And I you know what? I want to... Because right now it's cool because we have a small community where like you have it sort of if you're active on the chats and whatnot, you kind of have an idea who people are. So like I do want to throw shouts out to like community people who I think are cool.
Yeah. Okay. My next problem is I need to go find the London one because I don't have it because I'm an idiot. Okay. All right. Well, you're up while I go dig up London. So talk about Michigan.
Yeah, so I'm just having a look at Michigan here. The top three is like so predictable it might as well be like an inside joke, because it's Ben and Carl and Judge, and that's why I want to shout it out to actual people that you've heard of and probably talked to in the community that you're seeing in these lists, and that's pretty fucking cool, because like that doesn't it's a game community hits a critical mass after a certain point and it becomes more impersonal. Like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's it's the same reason why I like small population video games, because when it's niche but people are really into it, you get big personalities showing up, and they tend to have very amusing interactions. And that's not even the case with what we're seeing here, but it is cool just to see, like, you know, people that you see talking about lists and contributing to the community and stuff showing up in those top eights.
Yeah, no. Like, I want to, because we have both Ben and Carl. Maybe we'll get Judge Worm into the BonkTable Discord at some point, and
we might as well, just so that we can do.
Should we hunt him down?
Yeah.
Just be like, hey, you're in here now. Get over here.
I don't even know how to look at these lists. I feel like the most boomer brain person in the world when I'm trying to use this website.
Oh, so beside faction, they'll have like a little checklist thing. You click on that and it pops up their list.
Oh, okay. I see that here.
Yeah.
So so Ben took it with Spires. Looking at the list here, it's solid list. It's what you would expect. You've got Avatar, so that you have any access to cleave whatsoever. Strix, there's a guy or a person in our community, who says bird up a lot when they play their Strix.
Seriously? Like our local community?
Yeah.
He does that? What? Oh, because he's never played Strix into me. That's why I never heard it.
I'm surprised you haven't, because it comes up even if you're just around.
Oh god.
But but Strix, I think, are one of those fun, cool units for the factions. So even if they weren't tournament caliber, they're still fun to run. I mean, there's not much to say that doesn't just dovetail with like stuff that you would already have in mind if you're listening to this podcast. And if this is your first episode, God fucking help you. But I think it's interesting to see high clone executors seeing use. No, sorry, that's not. I was thinking of a different unit. No, that's really normal. No complaints.
No.
I don't. The problem is, like, just looking at this list, I'm just like, yep, that makes a lot of sense. Like, I don't have much stuff to see one way or the other. There's a lot of the time when you see like a list that works, you just see it and you're like, that's the list. You know?
I
don't know.
I cannot find this London GT. Maybe it never happened and that they're all liars.
Maybe the Werewolves of London got it.
Yeah, am I gonna try?
I've been thinking about that song a lot these days.
Oh my god, I'm gonna try one more thing.
So I'll
no, yeah, okay, I can't.
I'll continue to give completely valueless analysis of these lists while Mass tries to find something. So we've got,
unless it's Conquest in AF4. What, only had 6 players? But why do I feel like it wasn't that? No, this goddamn what? Fuck it.
But what if it was 6 of God's most powerful warriors?
Be very impressive. I will give you that.
That's the thing. So there's a new Armored Core game.
Oh yeah, Fires of Rubicon.
Yeah. And it's quite good, but one area where I think they missed an opportunity is in the plot of the game. You fight other mech pilots just in like an arena setting, and then you're ranked based on, like, you do it for other stuff too, but you earn a rank through the course of it, and eventually you know who the best guy is, because you fought all the other guys. But multiplayer isn't like that. Like, you'll never know who the best guy is, and I mean, to an extent, in the real world, you'll never know who the best guy or girl or whoever. is it something, because not everybody gets filtered into these events. But I really like, now that we're starting to see a lot of some of the more consistently high performing players in the community, and I'm 100% not one of them, but I do want to see whether I'm 15th or 20th at least, and then I want to see who also is in the top. So
Yeah, like, so, okay, let's talk about that. So I'm gonna stop trying to find this and actually pay attention because I'm getting nowhere. It's good to like. Ben won Adepticon. Ben was unavailable for Gen Con. Carl, who came second or third in Adepticon, I believe, came in first during Gen Con. Now they're both back at the Michigan GT. So now Ben won and Carl got second. Like, they're kind of getting a bit of consistency here. Yeah. I think the next big one that's coming up is LVO. There's going to be a Conquest event there, and then back to Adepticon. So I was talking to Bailey about going to Adepticon, and you're down to go to Adepticon?
Yeah, I'm once a plan starts to come together, okay, I'll have a better idea of things. But yeah, it's my goal, 100%.
It's our Conquest Ninja Way.
Yeah,
I think there was a Japanese word for that, but I'm going to call it Ninja Way. And then we get to meet these people. There's also been rumors from Parabellum that there's going to be like a Worlds event where they're going to bring in kind of people from all around to like do a world. So like people like, because like we have a bunch of German people in our Discord, and they're great, they're fantastic, and they talk about like their games and everything and how they're doing. And it'd be really interesting to see how like Conquest in America versus Conquest in Germany versus Conquest in Britain, like, you know, for a Worlds event like that. And I'm really excited that's starting to like come together.
Yeah.
And that just shows growth of the game itself when there's enough interest and skill of players that are doing or being pretty consistent in their regions to actually have a Worlds.
Yeah. And that's it. It's interesting in that regard too, because like one thing that you touched on is that like Ben and Carl and all them, a lot of them, they do hit the same tournaments, and they're all sort of in the same overall geographic area. And I'm not saying that that has a huge impact on what we're seeing, but it does mean that, like, just more broadly, the meta is really regionalized even now. People post lists online, but there's no like definitive meta lists for a lot of factions. Even looking at Ben and Carl's lists, there's a lot of variance there. Like looking at, like, I'm not saying that either one of them is bad, but they're both very different approaches.
Yeah.
And that's good. This is all positive, what I'm saying. But so what works against the people that you play against all the time, though? It could be completely like there are builds that I probably throw into our other 100k players, like infantry bricks, that are just like just die and I lose the game. But if I was going against other styles in a different meta, like I potentially could perform better or worse. Well, even still,
your meta determines the style, like what you're gonna play and how you're gonna play it, because your opponents are these people.
Yeah. So
and so there's people who are like, I don't know, it's when I talk online and it's like, I'm having great success with this, and then I make a battle report about it to show here's the success, or here's where I got wrong, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Then there's other people come in and it's like, well, this list is the ultimate best list and I've had a great time with it, and your list sucks. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like,
yeah.
We're obviously in different metas. If things that I find don't work, what you find work, like if there's something I find what doesn't work and you're finding it does work, like, great, cool, it's awesome that it's working for you. But if you're just like, I don't know, pushing that down someone's throat, where it's like, this is the best thing ever because my like this works in my meta and I've won 1 million games with it, where it's like, where I play, it's like that'll never work. Oh my god, I'm gonna have a rough time if I ever try and pull that out.
Yeah, I do.
It's a meta thing because that's what you're playing.
Yeah. So, but by the same token, though, like so you have these, so over, like, hypothetically, you know, in one part of the world it's Brick City, and in another one it's Cav Town, and another one it's like the MSU Co-op, and another one is like the monster high rise. Sorry, I got kind of
Yeah.
out my own ass about the analogy there, but you feel like you get down to who's really good at that style of playing Conquest, and then now you have high performing players of each sort of way that you can approach building a list, now ramming those lists into each other. And I think that's fun. Like, actually, now that I talk my way through it, I think that's probably the part where you find a universal meta for a game is once you have. So essentially, I'm an accelerationist for having a stable meta in this game, which is I don't know. I think there's a whole discussion to be had about whether that's a good idea or not. Like, it is when there's no meta. I do think that's kind of the cool zone for a game, and that's fun in its own right.
Can I, like, I've played Mark II War Machine, all of Mark III War Machine, a bit of Mark IV. Like, so there's like different parts of Mark III War Machine, and then even in Mark II. Like, when you have no established meta at the very like start of an edition, it is the most wildest bullshitty thing. Like, you're just playing whatever at that point, and it's super fun because you're pulling out models you wouldn't traditionally pull out just because like a change has happened to them, and you really want to see what they can do, and it's fucking hilarious what you can get away with. I love it, but after a while, the meta does settle, and I do agree. The meta hasn't settled per se right now, but I think it's starting to get there with these tournaments and stuff like that. I have news about the London GT and why it's not on Longshanks. They use the app, so it's unavailable to us.
Oh,
yeah. So there's that Conquest app on there's the tournament section in the Conquest app. They use that, so that's why it's not available publicly on Longshanks.
Damn.
Yeah, I went and DM'd one of the one of our British daddies, and he was like, "Yeah, it's the app." So sorry, London GT guys. We talk about the Michigan GT and like kind of how metas shape and form.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've dwelled so much on the lists and everything that the actual tournament that we've completely diverged from that. But
fuck it.
But I don't know. I think that's I think just rote list analysis. It has a time and place, but I didn't necessarily want this to devolve into that because anybody can go look at the lists.
So this is what's going to happen, and I've seen it happen in War Machine over the years. Oh yeah, I know. I'm letting into the secret sauce. Is that these players that do consistently well at high-end events, newer inexperienced players, experienced players who want to try something and see how well they play it, because they might be like, okay, wow, like the newer players might gravitate to it and grab it because it's like, well, this really good player who's consistently won game after game after game in multiple events plays this list. I'm gonna grab that list and play it because it's gonna get me to win. Middle of the pack players are gonna grab those lists just because they're like, I want to see what the best guys are playing and figure it out so that I could learn the game. Experienced players are going to grab the list just because they're like, I want to understand this list because in case I have to play into it, or like, what is it doing? Is there something I can learn from this? Like, there's different reasons why people are going to grab and like gravitate and grab those lists. But at the end of the day, they're going to start grabbing those lists. So these regional metas where people are going from convention to convention to convention are going to start. What is it? It's going to be trickle down economics, but it's going to leak into local metas because this is all publicly available information. You see that every convention Ben goes to, he wins. What is he playing? Oh, he's playing Spires. Okay. He's playing this list in Spires. Okay. Next tournament, he changes up a little bit, plays his list, and he wins. Like, and the Spire players are going to be like, oh yeah, this is the best Spires list. Spires are on top, and they're going to, throw that down at everybody. And then it's going to get into local metas because the local Spires player is like, I don't want to lose anymore. Ben, who's playing Spires, has won the past 5 conventions with like roughly the same Spires list. I'll grab his most recent one and play that into people. And then they'll figure out and have success. But it also doesn't mean like it's the list, not the player, because the player didn't develop and practice and take the time. Like, I've talked to Ben, and he plays a lot of games. Like, the sheer amount of games difference between like a high end tournament player and just a guy who goes like once a week to his store to play like a game. It's incredibly different skill level. But when you just take that list and give it to that guy who's going to go once a week to the game, he's probably going to have a good time. And then those players who also show up once a week are going to be like, well, now we got to figure out how to deal with this. And then, they look at what was beating that list, what was doing well into it. And then, they grab stuff like that, or they develop something to counter it and play it. So these convention lists do leak into local metas eventually. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing stuff like that as the game continues, because it's starting to break away from the Wild West and starting to get organized, but it's not all the way there just yet. I would say give it another year or two.
Yeah, it's going to take some time unless
you win everything?
Well, no, that's a far way off. Like, I think, so, I don't know. Initially one of the sort of the framework conceits that we went into this podcast was that it was partly to do with my improvement as a player, and which we've never really touched on, and we've had no reason to, and I don't, beyond just me giving general thoughts about how I'm doing through the course of discussing things. But like, I don't know. My intent is to eventually get to the point where I can hang at these events. I don't know if it's going to work out that way, but I'm going to give it my best shot.
Do you want to know the answer of how you hang at these events?
Well, just by playing a lot and going to them.
Yeah, you just show up. That's it.
But like, I wanna be a notably okay player. I don't even think I'm going to be the best. I just want to be like
you don't want to lose too badly.
It's not even that, because I just want to be a solidly mid-range tournament player. That's, I think, a solidly realistic ambition for me to have in the framework of this game.
Okay, so that's kind of that's kind of like goal setting. So like you have your short-term goals. You're like it's kind of like a career goal, I would say more. Like, I don't know, maybe that your like 3-year goal or something, where you want to go to a convention and you want to go 3 and I don't know, let's say it's 5 rounds. Let's say you go like 4-1 or something, like X and O. Mm-hmm. Like you kind of like pick a number. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when we go to Adepticon, I want to my growth as a player. I would like to go 1 and X. Like, I want to win 1 game. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and if I win 1 game, I will be happy. If I lose all my games, I'm still gonna be happy. But
yeah.
But my like skill level player skill, like I would like to win 1 game, because of course like the goal is to have fun, but I play to win.
You know what, I guess this is maybe something that's probably Ramblecast episode size, but it's something that I've been thinking about a lot, and I meant to bring up to you about how much it merits discussion on the podcast. But like, I'm just gonna say it, okay?
Yeah. I'm here.
Can I just say something without everyone getting mad?
No.
I know, but so if you can honestly, with nothing but sincerity in your heart, say, I'm just here to roll dice and have fun, bless your heart, but I don't fucking understand you. Like, if there's that's so gentle and cute to me, and I'm not trying to like be whatever about it, but and you know what, I eat shit more than I win, and you've seen that in action, so you can attest to that. So I'm saying that.
Don't worry, I have battle reports of you eating shit.
Yeah, you can see me eat shit more times than you see me win, easily provable. But my attitude is, for better or for worse, if there's a game that is focused on 2 people who are opposed in succeeding at the game, and the point is to surmount the other person and win, then that actually should be your goal. It's weird. It's like going onto a tennis court and being like, I'm just gonna sit here. Like, you can see why are you? Then go sit somewhere else. Like, it just doesn't make any. I don't know, and again, I don't want those people to stop playing. I think that's such a healthy and good attitude to have. It's like, I don't know. I'm in the poison swamp, like in the shadows, staring at all these people in the meadow being happy, and I'm like, fools.
Oh my god. Are you Hexus from that what the fuck was that movie? Tim Curry voiced Hexus. He was like the smog demon.
That sounds about right.
Oh, what the fuck was that? Fern Gully? I think that was the movie. It was Fern Gully. Are you the smog demon?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the smog demon from Fern Gully, but I'm also the rapping bat, voiced by Robin Williams. So that's the duality of a human. Yeah, no, I think it's very, like, it's healthy to have an I don't care if I win or not attitude, but I also think it almost obviates the point of playing competitive games. Like, go do something where it doesn't matter if you win or not. If that's
okay.
And that sounds dismissive, but like it just seems like if I don't know, it's why wouldn't you if the point is to win, why wouldn't you go in expecting like I'm going to at least try to win?
Oh yeah, I know. Like when I'm going to play these games, of course I'm going to try to win.
No, so many people I talk to, like you have that attitude and I have that attitude, but I talk to a lot of people like locally and online and people I play 40K with online and stuff like or I mean in person on real tables with models. These people that I play 40K with are just like, oh, I don't care if I'm good or not or whatever. I would just want to have fun and have a good time and move my little models around. And I'm just like, you sweet summer child. And that's such a trite thing to say too. I'm mad that was my choice of words.
Is that what the fuck?
No, I'm not clubbing seals. I'm just like I have different communities that I hang around with and play games with, and they're at different skill levels. So it's naturally you're going to get some people who are worse and better than others, but they have like they have earnest attitudes about it. Like I definitely am also playing a lot of these games with very brain poison people who are trying hard, and that's equally bad for different reasons. In fact, that is bad. Whereas the other thing I was saying is just not to my taste.
Okay, now I have a question for you. Do you think I'm a tryhard?
No.
What the fuck?
No, you're just good at the game. Like you're not.
Oh, don't tell people that. Please don't. They'll expect shit out of me.
Well,
I'm fucking with you.
I don't know.
Go on, but
no, you're a strong player. Like you're definitely, I think probably one of my like goalstones for my development is once I can start to consistently perform against you, then I'll feel like I'm strong as a player. I don't know how you rate globally, but
I'm number 4 in Canada.
Yeah, so there you go.
The only reason I'm number 4 is because the other people have more games than me on Longshanks.
So there you go.
Yeah.
But so it is what it is. Like I don't think that there's anything wrong in speaking to that. But
okay, then so something
you don't have like so sorry. I diverged from my pointer. I lost track. So what my point was. You are just like you're strong at the game and you know how to you know how to apply the theory and you know what to do on the table, but you're not like a sweaty tryhard. Like you're not like I don't want to speak to specific things because then I'll start to cast aspersions in a way that I don't care to publicly, but there are a lot of tendencies in the way that you list build, in the way that you approach how you play, the attitude that you have, the way you carry yourself. It's a lot of like material factors and tangential factors that all come together to determine if somebody is sweaty or a tryhard, I think. And it's almost it's a complicated conversation, but it also isn't because once you learn how to smell it, you know it.
The shit smell.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. I it's very kind things you've said. Kind of opening this up more, and because like a lot of the stuff I pull for Conquest, because like you and I, like Conquest came out right before COVID, so no one was really playing Conquest for like 2 years, and then there's like we were playing Conquest back in like version 1. I'm like, okay, so what, you were playing Conquest on your kitchen table while everyone's fucking locked down in COVID? Like, sweet. Yeah. But only recently has Conquest really started, like, getting out there more and having more growth. Like, there's always more new players coming in. There's always people talking about the game. And it's really great to see. But you're going to start hitting a point, and as Conquest itself, I was talking to the Just Will 1 guys about this, but as Conquest grows and gets to that mass of players, I'm gonna pull from my War Machine experience because this is what I saw in War Machine, and it kind of holds true and kind of falls a bit suit with Warhammer. Like, I can talk about a bit about Warhammer where you mentioned that there's the beers and pretzels guys, and there's beer and pretzel gamers who just want to push and move their models around, and then there's like my experience with War Machine, where back in Mark 1 and Mark 2 there was page 5, but I think I gave you the Mark 1 book, and I'm pretty sure you read page 5, what is pretty horrendous for today's standards.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like anyone who's talked to me personally has heard my own, like me just without prompting, give my opinions about the early tone of War Machine.
It's copywriting. The play like you got a pair. So, people would do dickish. So in War Machine had an issue where people would do really awful dickish things to each other, and just be an asshole about it. It's like, we'll just play like you got a pair. Like, it was like page. They would like quote page 5. Mm-hmm. As a defense, and I'm not gonna read out. I'm not gonna quote page 5 because it's not appropriate for. Well, it wasn't okay. So number one, it wasn't appropriate when it was written, and it's not appropriate today. And what it was trying to achieve was to shock wargamers to play like a high skill level fast end game, and I would say it did achieve that. And then when the developers realized it was bad, they removed it from Mark III onward because it was a very negative thing that people would throw at each other to be dicks. So
yeah,
and like the idea behind it is play like to put it into like more layman positive terms is like always play your best, find the angle of attack to win and succeed, go for that 10% chance to win if there's nothing else on the table. Like, that's really what it's trying to convey, but it doesn't really correlate.
Yeah, it's just that gets lost in a book telling you that it's going to physically assault you.
Yeah, that book was ready to fight you. So,
but no, it's like that page and that. So I think the attitude, like what it tries to convey, the way that you describe it, is all very well and good. It's a product of its era more than anything else. Because I was a young person during that period of time, and what was acceptable to be like a cool badass when you're just a book was a lot different than now.
Yeah, people don't take too kindly to that section anymore. But what you'll see, so back to tournament players and playing well, and the beer like, I'm not gonna lie, the beer and pretzel gamers, they're gonna have their fun. They're gonna play the game. They're gonna enjoy it. They're gonna push around models. They're not gonna pick the best thing. They're not gonna even look for the best strategies. They don't even want to grow as a gamer. You know what? That's a-okay. That's fine. I will play that player, and we'll have a good time. If that guy comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, I'm a beer and pretzel gamer," and he like shows me his list and it's like 6 units of men at arms and 3 units of merc crossbows and they're like in big regiments, I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, I might go dumb down my list a little bit, and then just play them and just have a good time." Or I might like play something that is more meme, like it's more of a meme, like I would never really pull out in an actual like tournament setting. Because and just so I can play and just have some fun, because it's fun to pull the meme shit, like the smite bomb. And recently I put a healing mage in a unit of household guard just because I wanted to, and I just wanted to see what it was doing, just so that I knew that interaction, I knew how it felt, I knew how it played, what I could do with it, where I was gonna put it, and if I played a beer and pretzels gamer and I did the healing mage and the household guard, he'd be like, "Oh, that's really strong, yeah, you got me," and I'll be like, "Yeah, but I would never like pull this out at an actual like convention or anything because it's not that great." That's the kind of shit I would do to those kind of players, just because it's like, yeah, I'm going on my way to accommodate for them, but like I don't need to pull out the high end tournament list of like a million Ashen Dawn and just stomp on the ground. No, it's not fair or fun to them. They're not going to appreciate that, and I'm going to get nothing out of it either.
Yeah.
Like, I care about play. Like, I just want to play a game of Conquest at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But what you will have, you kind of have a tier list. Oh, I love tier lists, don't you? You'll have
Yep.
the new player at the bottom, the mid player, the experienced player, the experienced player start of tournaments, the mid player in tournaments, and then the top end tournament players. That's kind of your list. And or not your yeah, I guess that's your tier list. And right in the middle between experienced player and tournament, like kind of I want to say new tournament players, that's where you have the divide between local and regional. Because once and you kind of climb it like that. Like a new player will join the game, they'll start grabbing their stuff, they'll start learning about things, they'll start trying stuff. They're gonna make a ton of bad positioning mistakes. They're not going to understand scenario. They're not going to understand dice math. They're not going to understand strategies or tactics. They're not going to understand like unit choices, cohesion, and combos, and all that shit you had to learn when you first started this game or any miniatures game. And you can pull like sometimes there's news player like everyone kind of starts there. How you get out of it is how you climb that ladder is dependent on a bunch of things like how fast you pick it up. Do you have previous experience in other war games? Like that'll move you up faster. Then you kind of get to your like mid-level player in the local meta. They have an understanding of dice math. They understand how to build lists. They understand how to play scenario. They understand how to where the combos are. They're great to play. They're making a lot less mistakes than newer players, but there's still stuff you can kind of catch them on and win a fight, and there might be not everything they understand fully. Then you get into experienced players who these are your guys who like have a very good fundamental understanding of the game itself. They usually like not usually they know how to build good lists. They have good combos. They understand a lot of the rulings of the game, and they usually help out a lot of the people kind of below them and stuff. And they're usually great to play. Then you have the new tournament players. So these are usually mid or experienced players from the local region moving up into the local meta, moving up into I want to say regional tournaments like Michigan GT, Depticon, Gen Con, like all that shit. And they're this is like their first time they're going to conventions and stuff. Like it's a lot. You're meeting people from different states or even countries or provinces or whatever, and now you're getting brought up with things you might not have seen because your locals aren't playing it, and so now it's a whole new learning thing. But you only get to see these guys whenever you go to these conventions or big tournaments, so it's a little tougher to get this level of play in where you have to have a higher skill level to compete. And so but it's a really good experience for them because they're going to start learning a lot, and then they go back to their local metas and they kind of tell their local metas about it and show them what was happening and things they learned and picked up, and that knowledge gets spread around to the local meta. What's great. Yeah. After that part, you get into the mid-level tournament players who are like they've gone to enough conventions, they understand what's going on, they're increasing their level of skills so that they're a bit of not that they're easily getting wiped out, but they are they're no longer a pushover would probably be the proper way to say it. And these guys are usually, I find, tend to be a little bit more cutthroat because their goal is to break into the top tier players. And these are the guys who you see at like in the top 5. Like this is your Ben Risselove. That's his last name. This is your Carl Swanson. This is like whoever won the London GT. This is like these are your big name players that people will like consistently see, and they will look for what they're doing, what their lists are. They'll be interviewed. Like we interviewed Carl and Tyler, who like first and second from Gen Con, because people are really curious and interested in what these guys have to say, how they played their lists, how their games goes, what was going on, how they got to the development they did. Like people want to understand their thought process, and people are really interested in Conquest from all stages of the game, from the very bottom to the very top, want to know about this stuff. So like these are your big name people, and players want to listen to them, or even as those middle more like I want to say they're more aggressive or assertive tournament players in that middle range want to push into this bracket to become those players. And I usually find these guys like the very top end players at a war game they're the friendliest people in the war game.
Yep.
Like they have nothing to prove to anyone because what they do and what they achieve shows it to everybody. And they're just great to be around. These are probably they're probably some of the funnest guys I've ever met. And I'm excited for us to go to Adepticon so that we can actually meet them and that can be proven true. But when we've talked to them, they're great guys. They're willing to help. They're willing to show people stuff that's going on. They're willing to break down and explain how stuff works and why maybe you're thinking isn't the way that you think it's an unstoppable strategy and where the flaws are. And they'll even go and help you shore up your weaknesses, and it's just great.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of that's my tier list. There you go.
It's a good tier list.
Thanks, man.
I mean, I didn't have much to add. That was so.
No, because I'm pulling a lot out of War Machine because that's what I find, and that's what's probably going to happen just through the repetition of history and how these games go. You see the same thing happen in Warhammer and Age of Sigmar and all that shit. Infinity, War Machine, it's usually the same select guys, always at the top. There's people who kind of break in and out. There's people who retire. It's just like every sport kind of thing.
Yep.
That's all it is. Just sports with little miniatures.
Yep. By and large.
Yeah. Should we do Rule of the Week?
Yeah, I guess we should do the first part of the podcast now.
And then we'll talk about Dwayne.
Yeah.
Yeah, we totally were just let's ramble. Okay, yeah. What are we talking about? Arcing Fire. I'll read this out for you because do you have any Arcing Fire in Wadroon? I swear
no.
You do. Oh, you don't?
No.
I swear you do.
Not that I can, I'm racking my brain to think if there is something that just isn't out yet, but there's only 6 kits that aren't out. But no, I feel confident. I don't think there's anything with Arcing Fire.
Not even Slingers?
Oh no, hell no.
Oh, Marksman. I know Marksman clones have Arcing Fire and longbows, but okay. Arcing Fire. Until the end of the round, when this regiment performs a take-aim action, it may ignore line of sight when performing a volley action against an enemy regiment in its front arc. That is within line of sight or any other friendly regiments. If it does so, it does not receive the normal +1 volley from the take-aim action. A regiment cannot make use of the special roll when occupying garrison terrain. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pain in the ass, but if you're not the one, if you're on the business end of it, but we weren't going to have ranged in a game and get away with it without some kind of an indirect fire rule being in place. This is I don't like indirect fire because I have to just take it and I never get to use it. But if this is at its current level of restriction is what its implementation is in this game, then fuck it, I guess so.
Well, so the things that have Arcing Fire off the top of my head are longbows, but are ranged they're sitting in the
bullshit
back.
Got assholes.
Perfect. And marksman clones. Those are the two big ones in the back of my head that
have. So you can understand why anyone who doesn't have access to that special rule would feel that way.
Yeah. I do put more value of Arcing Fire on marksman clones just because they're Barrage 5, so they just have innately more shots to get more hits. Because longbows losing that +1 from take aim, going from just being volley 2, kind of sucks. Volley it's just a shitty stack to a shitty stat to shoot at, while marksman clones being Barrage 5 volley 2, you make up for it in just the sheer amount of dice you're rolling. So that's why I put more value towards marksman clones Arcing Fire than I do longbow Arcing Fire.
Yeah, that's the thing. You need if you're going down to volley 2, you need weight of fire to compensate. Yeah. And there's no way around it.
And marksman clones have it while longbows don't. So longbows, you kind of want to have an area for longbows to shoot out of, but there are times where you're just running the rest of your army in the way because you're shooting from the farthest distance away that you can in the entire game, which is 24 inches. So Arcing Fire on the mail makes sense. It's historically accurate, but a lot of the time I'm trying to not use Arcing Fire when I'm shooting with my longbows just because I want them to hit stuff, and taking aim helps with me hitting stuff. While with the marksman, it's more easy for you to perform Arcing Fire just because you're sure your weighted dice, and just shooting over your stuff is super sweet. Really sets up that medieval warfare of like, we're gonna volley over our guys and hit our enemy, and they can't get to us because there's shit in the way.
Yeah.
So, I know you hate it because you don't have access to it, but I like it. It does have its it does have its negatives because you're not getting that. What is it? You're not getting that volley bonus from going to increase your volley stat, so you can be more accurate. But also, you have to use the take aim action. Like, you can't just march and shoot and benefit from arcing fire. You're sitting in that spot to arcing fire over.
Yeah, but I mean, really, from the other side of the coin, though, like, the issue with arcing fire is, I don't know, it's like it's a pressure thing more than something that actually kills units. So it's something that you either have to commit the resources to go out and deal with, and it can be tucked away in a really annoying place because of arcing fire, or you have to absorb, even if it's just a volley too, like chip damage is chip damage eventually, depending on, except all but the most resilient units, eventually it is going to add up.
Oh yeah, and that's the nice thing about what you're using it for is to tuck away this thing and then arcing fire over everything and keep yourself safe. Like, because you just need to be in the front arc and within line of sight of another regiment. You could park this thing behind a building or like an obstruction and just arcing fire shoot over that obstruction into your opponent's stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a really good way to make use out of it. We've already mentioned having your stuff in front of it and then just shooting over your own stuff. You can't hide anything. I wouldn't say you can't necessarily not hide anything, but it becomes very hard to hide something from arcing fire because it just requires anything else to have line of sight. And if you have, I don't know if you see it in the battle reports that we have, you'll see me use a laser, and I'll just laser to check my line of sight for my front arc, and I just have to pick a regiment that has line of sight from one of my friendly regiments to the target, and then just have to make sure that's within range of the longbows, and I'm just going to shoot at it. So it makes it harder to hide stuff. It's really good for things like a Theist priest and a unit of militia bowmen who's like casting buffs and being used to score like the back end zones and just killing off that scoring character. Killing off hero deacons who are maybe a bit too forward, trying to score zones and generate dark power pool points, like stuff like that. I wouldn't really use it against the Dwag Fireforge bunker just because that bunker is like defense through the shield to 4, so it's a little tougher to kill, but eventually you'll chip through it. But there's stuff like that where you can start kind of taking out back end stuff if it's starting to be a problem as the rest of the fight's going on.
Yeah.
You got anything else to say about it?
No, I mean, it's not bad. Like, I mean, it's gonna sound like I hate this rule to death, and I've been so hyperbolic. It's fine. Like, it's not unbalanced. It's a pain in the ass, but that's what it's meant to be. So in that respect, it's well designed. It's not exciting, is the thing, because it doesn't. I think if you're using it, you still feel the power hit from not getting the bonus to take aim for the 100%. Most part. And if you're on the receiving end, you're just like, well, they don't have to even fucking see me, so what is this? So it's a well-constructed rule that doesn't really feel that great no matter what side of it you're on in some ways.
You want to talk about the new Dwag? Because you have thoughts and you wanted to speak about this, and we have randled off about random crap.
This has been the episode so far, but again, this is the podcast that delivers on its promises.
Watch this episode be our most highly rated for some fucking reason.
Yeah, I wouldn't. You know what? That's just how the internet is to me. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But onto the Dwag. I do have opinions because I did get a chance to play against them the other week.
I also have a chance to play against them. There's a live game where a gentleman named Bailey, who's my wonderful opponent, and I play for like 3 hours. Well, I think it was more like 2 hours, but we rambled and shit for like an hour. I have timestamps in the battle report. You can find that on the YouTube channel. BonkTable at YouTube.
But yeah, overall, so my takeaway, it's just one game, mind you, but overall, I'm ready to say I think the changes that were made to Dweghome are good. They fixed a lot of the problems. But what was your takeaway from your game?
I think Dweghome are in a better place. So I know why I lost and where I lost, and I wasn't like I'm gonna admit I wasn't playing anything like super fantastic. I was just playing stuff because I wanted to try out a different style. Like I don't usually bring huge bricks, like anything past 6 stands, and that was my goal. And then my other goal was to see if what would happen if you put a chapter mage in School of Water with Regalia of the Empire to give the Household Guard Dauntless into a unit of like 9 Household Guard and like just see what that does. And I don't think the Water Mage is good enough to like really keep a regiment going. So my opponent played Tempered Sorcerer on Hellbringer Drake into School of Magma, Tempered Sorcerer in a unit of Fireforge and School of Magma, all decked out, and then 3 units of Hold Warriors, and a 5 stand of Hold Thanes, and 5 stands of Hold Thanes, and 5 stands of Dragon Slayers, and that was the list. And the Warlord was the Foot Tempered Sorcerer, because for the double cast, and the shit tickets. So the Magma Tempered Sorcerer can create terrain, so they're always going to get their shit tickets and then turn a piece of terrain erupting to get shit tickets. So there's like being out of range is never an issue of never generate shit tickets. So it's like good for Dweg because you always have a way to get your shit tickets even if there's nothing in range. You just turn a piece of terrain into erupting. Create a piece of terrain, you're good. There you go. You get 3 shit tickets that turn. The point cost change, I know Dragon Slayers went up by, I want to say 10 or 20 points. I think they're at 210, now they're at 220. And the whole things went from like 180 to 200. I read online, like I'm reading online, people are like complaining about, I'm like, I don't think like, they're like, oh, it's too much. Like, it's over. The Dragon Slayers and whole things are too, I'm like, no, they're still really good. Like, you spend 200 points and then your additional sands are 55 points for Hold Thanes. Like, it's much cheaper than 3 stands. So you're bringing out big bricks. Like, that's kind of what they're trying to get you to do, is just have one big brick of these guys. And that's what my opponent did, and it was really effective. Like, trying to chew through 5 stands of Dragon Slayers and 5 stands of Hold Thanes is just, like, it's kind of a shitty situation, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
They're really great anvils and hammers, and they pair up really well with each other. My opponent put, what is it, the Magma guys? Yeah, Heralds of Magma into all their Hold Warriors. 25 points for an officer is pretty steep, but any terrain you turn into counting as erupting, and then having the Magma Wizard just cast out of that erupting terrain, so you can kind of make, like, arc nodes, is super good. And you can, so in the new scenario packet, you can put terrain, but it's not obscuring, not obstructing. Obstruct, so no buildings and no garrisons in the zones, but you have to leave the middle open. So you can't put it on the middle, you can put it kind of like side brushing up towards the middle. So there's a side free of terrain. And so I just threw terrain in each of the zones. And, like, am I giving it to my opponent? I didn't even know my opponent. I knew my opponent was playing Dweg and they were playing Magma, but I didn't really expect how this to go. So I just, like, threw terrain everywhere because I want to play with terrain in the zones because that's the shit we're fighting over. Might as well put terrain in it.
Yeah.
And even having the Magma Wizard, let's see here, Tempered Sorcerer, School of Magma, where is it? Yeah, Pyroclast. Effect 5 hits on target enemy regiment. They have armor piercing 1 special rule. The spell only target an enemy regiment within 5 inches of an erupting piece of zonal or garrison terrain, regardless of the spell's range or spellcaster's line of sight. These hits count for being infected from flank of the regiment. This is really good. Magma Steep, where you just throw out a 3-inch marker that is erupting zonal terrain and also has hindering, is really good. You just drop that in front of one of your regiments your opponent wants to charge, and then you just pyroclast erupt out of it. Eruption is really good, where you target a piece of zonal garrison terrain, and now it becomes erupting. It's range 8, but it's not bad because you can usually find a way to get the character close enough to a piece of terrain, and now like all of that terrain is erupting, and then you pyroclast that piece of terrain, and then you push it another 5 inches. So you have a bit of like spread you can do with this terrain. And then if you're just running hold warriors with magma guys, you can just run into a piece of terrain on the other side of the battlefield and just start erupting and pyroclasting out of it, because fucking why not?
Yeah.
The damage, I know we were talking about the damage, and you only need 2 successes on a 2-3, and the Drag Wizards are like Wizard 6 base.
Yeah. So
it's not hard to get 2 successes to then just get 5 hits at armor piercing 1 from the flank. So you're ignoring shields, you're ignoring phalanx, which is really good. You don't reroll resolve from spells on the side, so that doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But for how low you have to get a success, because it's not hits per success, it's just you get 5 hits, it's actually really efficient.
Yeah.
And you can pile this stuff on like pretty quickly, because you can, with your Tempered Sorcerer, you can erupt a piece of terrain, put 5 armor piercing 1, eruption is per stand. Yeah. So all stands currently within. So if your opponent's sitting in it, you can just do that. So each stand takes a hit, so you're usually killing like a standoff with that. And then you're pyroclasting stuff. Or you could just put a magma seep, because it's range 10 and then it makes a 3-inch radius. So you basically pop down a 6-inch area of erupting zonal terrain 10 inches away. And then you bounce pyroclast off of that from the 2 other, like from the double cast wizard and the other wizard into your opponent. So there's like 10 armor piercing 1 hits from the side. And then they're doing resolves. So that's going to do damage. Like, I had eruption and pyroclast and magma seep and shit just kill off a unit of like Burr crossbows and just killed them all, and I was like, sweet. So it's very effective into defense 3 and lower. Like you're gonna be doing damage. I think defense 4 starts to help like hold itself up a bit more. Just watch out if you're defense 4, like defense 3 with a shield for defense 4. Because remember, you're losing that shield, now you're 3, then you're going down to 2, and then you're rolling a bunch of saves on 2s, and that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it's why I hate getting my Household Knights charged in the side, or basically any of my Knights charged in the side. It just, losing that shield is a huge blow.
Yeah.
So, like, overall, Magma's super sweet and fun. There's a lot of tactical play you can do with it. You can get away with some, like, really, like, janky shit, bouncing erupting zonal terrain and then like pyroclast from the 2 wizards. Like it has shit going for it, and you don't feel like you have to invest into like a spirit bomb juiced up fire wizard who had to take arcane 1 through 3 focused and maybe cathodic flame. Cathodic flame also works on magma to like just dunk on people. Like I want to say magma is a more free flowing than fire. Yeah, like a full blast from fire is doing more damage, but because flame wall is gone and it's kind of changed how it's working, magma's kind of becoming the next school. And I think also Dwag players are gravitating towards magma because it's new and fun and interesting, and you can do a lot with it as well. Okay, there's my wizard rant. Go. I need to drink some more.
For the wizard rant just made me think of Vanilla Ice's Ninja Rap from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Oh, from the movie? Yeah, the sequel.
And then that just like my brain just stopped. Like I wasn't useful for a second there. Yeah, overall, so I guess my takeaway from the game's like it was against the same opponent, Maz's friend Bailey.
You're welcome, Bailey.
I played a game against him. It was fun. I also lost, but that. So my biggest takeaway though was in analyzing the game is it was my fault that I lost, which isn't always the case playing a game against the Dwag. Sometimes in the past it's just been like with the models released, I didn't have an answer for what I was going up against, but this felt very differently. And that's the biggest thing. Like that's all I want is just for it to feel like all things being equal, I have a shot at winning.
Well, it's really good that you can go from I have not found it out. There's nothing I could have done to succeed. Everything I tried was going to immediately get counter and killed, and I wasn't going anywhere to now. I can figure out where I went wrong so I can correct in the future to do better to win. Like that's a great thing to see, especially for like you as a player, is that you can be like, all right, I understand what I did wrong. I'm gonna come back next week and I'm gonna play it like I don't know, play it again, or like you'll take those lessons learned into your next game, and you can grow from it. And I do appreciate that. Like, did Dwayne come down in power? Yes. Did Dwayne get nerfed into the ground? No. Do Dwayne players now have to play the game? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's not like I just steamrolled them. Like they still had a lot of good options, and they still were putting a lot of power on the table. But it just felt better. So
did you know that Infernal Automatas had fluid formation?
Oh my fucking god! What?
They went from movement 8 to movement 7, but they have fluid formation.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
And also, there's still evasion too. Fuck these things. Like, so you want to talk about Infernal Automatas?
Yeah.
I'm happy they went from movement 8 to movement 7. It was dumb as shit that they were movement 8 and outrunning a horse. Clash 3 to Clash 2 is much better. They are now a fast, tanky robot. What can kill objectives and take a hit, but they're not really designed to just start ripping up like mediums. Like they don't punch up, I want to say, as well, but they do take hits from mediums pretty good because they have Resolve 3, Defense 3, and Evasion 2 at 5 wounds.
Yeah.
So, but now they can like they're probably about the same offensive. Like Mounted Squires are speed 9, but also Clash 2, and you have to spend a ton of points to get them up to like Clash 3 and always Inspired if you want to veterans them. But also their Defense 2 with a shield for 3, while these things have Evasion 2. So there's like a bit of a back and forth, but I think you would still run Infernal Automatas. You just, after you kill an objective and kill some lights, you're not expecting them to start just killing mediums. Like they should be dead once they start hitting mediums, because their their offensive capabilities aren't that great to kill mediums. Like generally, like there's of course there's gonna be some mediums where they can kill. It's like Men-at-Arms somehow winning a fight. but they do have the defensive stats of mediums, so they can still take a hit and kind of set that line of engagement where you want it before they die.
Yeah.
So I do like that change. Fireforge, I still fucking hate you with your defense through the shield. Still stupid as fuck.
Yeah, Fireforged are.
What do you think of the change for did Harden? I guess Harden didn't really come up because like Bailey wasn't taking a Herald of Stone. Do you think Herald of Stones are going to be taken at all for that Harden 1? Because it used to give Bastion, but now it just gives Harden +1 to a max of 2. Do you think that's going to be taken over? Oh, fuck. I'm looking at the hold things. School of Magma is 20 points, while Herald of Stone is 30, and Herald of Fire is 30. So it's really saying, like, go take Magma, get Aura of Death, and then turn terrain into Erupting. Like, having Aura of Death on Hold Warriors and Hold Things is kind of nice, because you just activate when you're going to go fight them and just, like, get burnt a little.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I don't know, this is with a bunch of the changes that have come through, I am actually, as somebody who doesn't play factions regularly, having some trouble making the valuations there. Like, it's the same thing with a lot of the Nords changes, who I even do play to extent. I've sort of lapsed at this point, but,
Yeah.
I do, in theory, have them as a faction, but now looking at trying to build a list since the revisions, I feel completely out of my depth. So I want to see
I
more
think
people's games and lists to get a feel for it.
yeah, like we need a. I know we need a local Nords player. It's like someone to stay consistent. I actually, what is it? Yeah, yesterday I went over to my buddy's place and then gave him all my Nords and was like, "Here, build this and we'll play." trying to get him into Conquest. Like, here, your first hit bump's free.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, it's just I need. There's times where it's like I need to see it on the table to really assess it. And I can say good things about where current Dwag Home is at because I feel like I have a game and I'm not having to play to my absolute pinnacle to try and have a chance. Where a Dwag player would locally, like, well, not locally, but he would normally just move his shit forward to kill me.
Yeah. Yeah. But it remains to be seen how this is all gonna come together. It seems like Nords are in a very strong place though after all this. So
Yeah, and I know in the BonkTable server, there's like this Nords list running around where it's like basically almost everything comes out on like turn 2 or turn 3. Like everything has flank, and it's just like Jesus.
yeah, it seems like it's if you know what you're doing, they can be very overwhelming. But it is also sort of contingent on terrain. So I'm hoping that we're going to see more. I guess a way of making it so that terrain has to be relevant. Because I even find games where I'm just like, okay, these are just obstructing. We're good.
Yeah, and you just run around it. Well, because train can now be put into zones, what's not obstructions, so just but and cannot cover the middle of the zone because it's supposed to be like a mark, like a point on a map. But to help everyone out with it, everyone just like puts an actual zone there, so it's easier for everyone to like find and determine are you on the zone or not.
Mm.
But you can't cover that. But you can totally put like shit around it, like in basically a U. But you still need a way to see the middle. So you could almost do like a Pac-Man pie around it and leave a little bit open, and that would work.
Yeah.
I I need to play more of the. Is there anything? Okay, so before we move away, because I want to talk about the current scenario packet and the 2 games I've had so far on it. Is there anything else you want to say about Dwag? Because I'm happy where they are. Like,
Yeah.
they're not like that S tier where they were before. I want to say like they've come down.
Yep.
And I think Dwag players hopefully will enjoy it because now there's actually a challenge, and as well as regular players will enjoy playing into Dwag and not feel completely overwhelmed without any options where they're just destroyed. Like Steelforge going down from Defense 5 to Defense 4 really helped out. Flux Power still has its own issues, but like they're still a good brawler, but they're not ruling the world like they were before.
Yeah.
And at 210 points, I'm kind of like justified. Bailey has them, and hoping to get a Steelforge game in at some point so that I can see how they're currently going. But I am happy like Defense 5 is gone out of the game, and that's good for it because when you're getting shit like that, you got to start looking into like Smite and Mortal Wounds and crap like that because that's what happened in 40k and Age of Sigmar is that it's like this thing has like an invuln save and a ward save and all that shit. Like we've kind of talked about the saves on saves, the 4++ or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hopefully a rule space that we don't see this game branch into because I really don't want to see the like I people even complain about evasion. I think evasion has a place. It's good where it's at. We're seeing good levels of evasion across the board. We're seeing good levels of cleave. I don't.
So here's the thing about evasion. I like that they don't push it above 3.
Yeah.
Because I think once it hits 3, it starts to really. That's the point where it kind of starts breaking the game.
Yeah.
Well, 2 is super annoying. 1 is like, yeah, whatever. 3 is kind of like, why am I bringing cleave?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think the only thing that can get to Evasion 3 are characters, and at that point, like, you really don't care.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to talk about scenario?
Yes.
Okay,
Let's do that.
So I'm only going to talk about really the two scenarios that I've played on. I will eventually dedicate like a full scenario episode where we go through everything, but we really got to play it. I played Divide and Conquer, and I played scroll Off Balance. So which ones have you played so far?
Here's the game that I play every. Okay, here we go. I found it pretty quickly this time.
Are you sending me a photo? Should I be worried?
No, I was just trying to pull up. I can never find the document when I need to.
Okay.
No, I got it now. So I played Declined Flank. I'm trying to think.
I've heard people are really discussing this one. There's some problems with it.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird. I wasn't. It wasn't. Or wait, was I playing Declined Flank or was I playing? Let me just skim through here and see if it's the other one. Foresight. No, I feel like I've played both now.
Oh Jesus Christ! What the fuck is happening with Foresight?
Foresight is just a nightmare.
All right. I'll do Divide and Conquer, and then you'll do Decline Flank.
Sure.
All right. So changes that happen to Divide and Conquer from the regular scenario packet to the tournament scenario packet is the two zones closest to your reinforcement side are now friendly, so you can't score those. And you now, I don't know if you had an objective, but they're like 1 foot up the table. I don't know if those objectives should maybe go up another 6 inches to be more relevant, but at 1 foot back, you kind of have to fight to get in there still. You gain 3 VPs for destroying an enemy objective marker during the round. You gain 2 VPs for each zone you're seizing. You gain 2 VPs if you're seizing 3 or more zones. You gain 1 additional VP for seizing more objective zones than your opponent. And you get 2 VPs for killing the Warlord. This cannot be scored more than once, so Dynastic Alliance is no longer a problem. So you can't just get double Warlord kills and score 4 points. It only counts the first time you kill a Warlord. I like new Divide and Conquer more than I did before, because it forces engagements to go towards the middle of the table, like 2 feet up, 2 feet from either side. Secure those 2 zones and or collapse a flank and push into your opponent's zone to kind of score those additional 2 VPs for scoring 3 or more objectives. And if you can score 1 zone and hold off your opponent, you're not getting 2, you're getting 3 because your opponent has 0 zones, so you're 1. So you have more zones than your opponent.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, at bare minimum, you're getting like 3 points a turn. The only time you're getting 2 is if you're tied with your opponent, like you guys are tied for each zone.
Yeah.
I do like this because it kind of forces that engagement, and then once you break through, you just go collect your opponent's zone for that additional points to try and get those 3 points. It cuts off back end scoring, what I don't mind at all, because I always found back end scoring like something you need to build into your list so that you can keep up on score, but it was like you wanted it to still be effective, like not effective, but you still wanted like whatever was in the back end scoring to be relevant to the rest of the game. So like things that were really good back end scores were the Curatids, what were the ranged statues because they're mediums and they shot, marksman clones because they're mediums and they shot, like a hero deacon sitting in a unit of legionnaires because he's just generating dark power pooled points back there, so he's still relevant, like kind of shit like that, like longbows with a character in it shooting, like anything that could still contribute but also sit back far enough and score the zone.
Yeah.
But with the removal of that, you kind of want to build your list to be more front aggressive now to get in, like to secure the 2 middle zones and then push into your opponent's 2 middle zones. Yeah. The objective, I think you take near the end of the game if you can get to it to just kind of close out the game, really. Like that's kind of what I see it as, because it's too far back for anyone to really go for it. And the only things you can run around it are heavies, and yeah, it's trying to get to it early is not a good idea, just because it's too close to your opponent's reinforcement line.
Yeah. The backline objective conceptually is pretty weird in this game, and I'm going to draw a direct parallel to like 40K because I have experience there. It's not really like it's just so in 40K you have like units that cost almost nothing, and it doesn't matter if all that they do is hide behind a corner on an objective and hold that for you for the whole game. So that's something that's very easy to design around because almost every faction has an ideal candidate cultist for doing that. Yeah, Chaos Cultists, or like when I'm playing, like if I play Necrons, which I do quite frequently, like a lot of their best anti-tank stuff is better off not moving, so you plop it on a backline objective. So that's a little bit different because it's easy to get value out of it when it's doing that. But like on the other hand, you can get the Gloctopus, the little 6-gun skeleton, and have him, like, he costs like 80 points or something and sits on a point and punishes anyone who comes near it, and that's great. That's all that you need. But when any regiment costs a minimum of 100 points and potentially more if you need upgrades or a character to make it work, then like everything has to be doing something for you, or it's a sink, or it's going to be actively contributing to you being at a disadvantage or outright losing the game.
Yeah, I've seen that happen in games of Conquest where someone will move their high-end damage regiment towards the zone. I think I had that during the Saskatoon tournament. I want to say it was versus my round 1 opponent who was playing Dwag.
Yeah.
And they moved their Dragon Slayers towards the zone, and I was already working and capping on 2 out of the 3 zones. I think we were playing like Bulwark or something. Breakout. No, it was totally Breakout. It was old Breakout. So I had already killed 2 of the objectives on 2 of the zones, and we were kind of controlling 2 of the zones. And my opponent went and killed 1 objective on the zone, and I was just kind of like containing him on that side because like, well, I controlled 2 out of the 3 zones. I'm gonna win. Like I didn't care. And then they committed their Dragon Slayers to the zone they controlled, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. You can sit there. I don't have to worry about you for the rest of the game. Like, yeah. The Dragon Slayers is a work unit. You are now pushing towards zone sitting at turn 5. Like, there's 5 more turns of the game. They need to get some work done to justify their existence. Like, if I had a unit of Men-at-Arms go do that, I'd be like, yeah, whatever, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, my work units can run off and go do other things. The only time I want a work unit sitting on the zone, if it's the end of the game, or I'm capping my opponent's zone on the other side of the field, because then at that point, either 2 things have happened. I've killed everything that's on that side of the table and they can safely sit there, or my opponent has decided not to reinforce that side at all, and I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, I don't know. These,
I do like new Divide and Conquer. My only change, I think I'd move those 2 objectives up 6 inches, and that's it. Done.
Yeah.
But I'm also not a huge fan of objectives just because they reduce space where you can put your models, and also kind of where you can put some terrain. But now that you can put terrain that's not obstructions in zones, it frees it up a bit more. But just because of how like because of how slow the movement system is and how rigid it is to try and move and wheel and turn and get somewhere if you're not going straight towards it, or it's pretty close to straight towards it, you find, like, I find, like, trying to get from one end of the table to the other is pretty difficult. And having the objective zones at that 12-inch line kind of prevents some stuff from just, like, running up and then, like, clearing the objective, or it has to kind of move behind the objective and lose out some on distance. Like, it kind of depends on, like, that, like, the speed of regiments.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know if I have a movement 6 with a banner, it's going to go 13. But because the objective is like an inch and a half, about an inch from that middle part, like, I'd still be clipping the objective, so I wouldn't clear it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, Yeah. Like, I kind of want a spot where, like, your movement is nice for it. But then if you're moving it up to, like, the 16-inch line, you, like, cavalry gets kind of fucked behind it. So there's a bit of me what kind of wants objectives gone, because it's just like something you have to build in what is your objective killer. And it's usually a character in lights or some light regiment that can do enough damage, like Infernal Automatas, that can go around and hunt objectives very effectively. But objectives seem to be... let me just check this out. Kind of more back end. No, there's some still in the middle. Or you have to cross the table. There's a couple neutral objectives, but there's sometimes where you have to cross the table and get into your opponent's stuff. So it's kind of like, it's kind of weird, I find.
Yeah, it seems like it's mostly opportunity type.
Yeah, and maybe I shouldn't be building my lists with an objective hunter regiment in there. I should be building them to be more zone focused.
Yeah,
and that's what I think I'm going to start doing for development.
Even the zones, like I'm looking at a lot of these 6 zone scenarios, and it's like
it's a pizza pie.
It certainly is. I don't know. Getting into the philosophy of how you design scenarios for games like this, like the objective ultimately is there to sort of direct the action so that people have something to move towards and to get engaged, but then also so that there's an angle to it, that it's not just a test of strength for the 2 lists. And that to that extent, like there needs to be elements on the table that contribute to that. But as it stands currently, like the 6 zone scenarios, I think push that. Like I get what they're trying to do, but I think that they push it a little too far, because now you're having to try and you're trying to balance 2 opposed goals against each other, and in this game we just don't have the points to really create lists that effectively do that in a lot of cases.
Yeah, like once you're trying to get your work models in, points start becoming really tight really quick. I found.
Yeah, it does, and especially that's something I feel acutely in Wadrun. But even looking at other factions, like you can never, unless you're doing like a goofy goblin list or something, like you can never quite squeeze everything that you need. And I know that that's technically an indication of good design, but it's also like when the game is asking as many different things from you at once, then it becomes like, it's not bad necessarily, it's just tough. It's tough to find that balance.
Yeah, and that's like, I go back to War Machine. War Machine had the 2 list pair where you would bring 2 lists to an event, and then you would list chicken each other, where it's like, I'm going to play list 1, I'm going to play list 2, and then like that would be the matchup. But each list would be designed to deal with certain things, like designed for certain scenarios, designed for certain factions. So like if I was playing scenarios 6 to 12, I would play list 2. If I was going into Dwag, OD, and Nords, I'd play list 1, like, shit like that. I think developers say like, no, they're not thinking of putting in like 2 list pairs into Conquest, and I'm totally fine with that. But yeah, like building an optimal generalist list to deal with a ton of stuff is a bit tough to do sometimes, and then it gets into like, you build the best list you can build, you play it as best as you can, and you hope to dodge any of your problems. And that's how you win. And that's the lot of luck involved in winning tournaments.
Yeah.
All right, tell me about Decline Flank. I haven't played on this, but I've heard some stories.
Yeah, so let me pull it up here. So we played on, that was actually my game against the Dwag. Was on no, sorry, not Decline Flank. It was Foresight.
Oh, okay. So have you not played on Decline Flank, or?
I did play on that one as well, I think, but I don't remember who I played against or what the game was. So, but I do remember Foresight, and that's the one that I have the more fresh opinions of.
All right, let's talk about Foresight then. Fuck it.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, so it's crazy. Like basically, you've got, so the points are numbered. The middle point is not. Any of the numbered points, like it's secretly, each player at the beginning of the turn after supremacy, or at the end of the supremacy phase, each player secretly chooses an objective zone by number, and then hides that information. And if you are the only person who chose that number, then that objective is turned off for that round. But if you and your opponent both chose the same number and the same point, then you get double points for having that objective.
The start of the victory phase, both players reveal which objectives they have chosen. To the end of the round. So when the fuck does the victory phase begin? Roebuck.
That's, I think, at the end of the game.
No.
Sorry, not that's at the end of the turn, is what I mean to say. At the end of the round.
Round summer victory phase 25. Yeah, it's after the action phase. The action is to see whether your opponent has won. If your opponent can see it at the bar and so out, no, that doesn't work anymore. Otherwise, the victory is for each battle determine the scenario you're playing and will need to consult the victory. Okay, so you don't know what zones are going to be worth points or double points until it's time to score the zones at the end of the turn. Okay. You gain 2 VPs for each. You still there?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I was like, I didn't hear you, and then I got a ping, and I'm like, oh no, Mike left. Oh shit.
No, I'm good.
The girlfriend has asked me if I want food. I have asked for crispy chicken.
As one does.
Yeah. There we go. That's what that was. Okay, so back to this. During the victory phase, each round gain VPs. Players gain 2 VPs for each objective they are seizing. They gain additional 2 VPs if they're seizing 2 or more objective zones on, including the center one. They gain additional 1 VP if they're seizing objective 3. Why do I feel like that's wrong? It's supposed to be they gain additional 1 VP if they're seizing like the middle one. What was supposed to be 3? Like the numbering's wrong, but because it doesn't have a number, you can't turn it off and you can't double it. Like, was it supposed to be like there's a fight over the middle because it's like that's the consistent one?
That's what they must mean. Yeah, that's got to be a typo.
Yeah, like whoever's player 1, man, they're making bank here on objective 3 if you're just getting additional 1. Because if the center one doesn't have a number, then you can't turn it off. So if you control the middle, you can win the game. You've played. Okay, tell me about your thoughts, and then I will tell you why I dislike this one.
So it's a little bookkeeping heavy for my taste. Like, I don't like where there's now suddenly extra things to keep track of. The other thing is the trick of it being a secret. It's really not. Like, there's only 4 options, and you kind of like you're basically just playing like, can I cold read my opponent to see if they're gonna like try and cancel my zone, or if they're gonna try and be clever in a different way. And then if I think they're gonna cancel my zone, then I'll just pick it and gamble on making double points that turn.
Yeah.
And so, like, I found that it generally you had an idea of what the optimal choice to pick to turn off was in any scenario, so it didn't add a ton of depth to itself. It was just another factor that was going to keep coming up.
Yeah, like I also I also hate the fact that it's like you're trying to hide that and cold reading your opponent. But one of the things I really dislike about this is that you are asking for cheating to happen in this.
That's another problem too.
And I can very easily see cheating happening with this. And then people getting all pissed off at each other. I dislike the bookkeeping part of it. Like a scenario like this, I would totally play in like a narrative campaign or event or something. I'd be like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. But if there's a tournament where I'm gonna win a golden fish gnome, I don't want to play the scenario because I don't want to have the bookkeeping be a part of the reason why. Like an issue with the bookkeeping be a possibility of why someone won or lost.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to do. It's also very easy to be like, I forgot to write it down. I actually picked 3. Like, it's like, okay, well, I'm calling a judge.
Yeah.
And then if the judge says like, it's like, okay, well, fuck. Like, what do you want from me, dude? Like, this guy obviously failed to do his thing. I wrote down my number, or like, even if I fuck up and forget to write a number, because like, when it's like I have to, when you're playing a game of Conquest, you gotta know what your stuff does. If you're good enough, you'll know what your opponent's stuff does, and then you'll know what the scenario does, and you'll play the game. Except the scenario is moving around on which parts are active, which parts are inactive, or doubling. Like, there might be a turn where you guys both pick 3, and then the player who's scoring that zone forgets to double their points.
Yeah.
And then you know, the game plays out and they lost because they forgot to do that doubling and they could have won. Like, you know, there's shit like that, and it's just kind of like, I don't want to do that level of bookkeeping. I like keep it consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, just going back up, even though I think the objective markers can go up 6 inches in Divide and Conquer, everything on that scenario was consistent, and I could play it, and I knew what I was getting for every move I made.
Yeah.
Messing around with scenario like that, kind of flipping shit on and off, just kind of gets annoying for players. Like, I forget what it was called. There was a scenario in War Machine. It was just 3 flags across the middle of the table at the halfway mark. And during different iterations of the scenario, you would roll a d6, and depending on the number you get, one of the flags would just be gone at turn like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And then they changed it so that the middle flag was always there, and one of the 2 side flags would be gone. And then they finally changed it to all 3 flags would just be there. Because people would just be getting annoyed about it, because, like, you know, you'd be running troops over to that flag, and then it'd just be gone, and then now you gotta shift all these troops over to the other side, and it's just like, oh my god. So that's what this kind of reminds me of, and I don't like it. Like, that's kind of like my initial problem with Maelstrom was. Maelstrom's kind of got a little better, but I still dislike the bookkeeping of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, I just... Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, player trust is an extent. Like, it's not something that we deal with as much because we know who we play with. But if you're
I know where you live.
Pugs, yeah, exactly. But if you're playing against pugs, like, or pickup games, that is to say, sorry, I'm used to playing online games.
You playing well?
You don't always know, and people are not everybody is great, you know, in the world. So you gotta, and it sucks to have an unfun game because somebody was just like, somebody doesn't care how they get a win.
Yeah, like kind of like a sleazier player. Like, so I've had a couple, like, I'm not gonna say like that. Well, no, they weren't really that guy stories, but they were more of a player just being kind of pissy that they lost. Like, sort of Mark III War Machine, I played a game. We went into like this local like escalation league for new players, and I played a guy and I beat him, and I was like, "Hey man, you want to talk about your game after, like, you know, so that you can improve me?" He's like, "No, you beat me because you're a veteran," and I'm like, no, I beat you because you fucking ran your shit away from your guy in charge, and I killed him because he was out in the open.
Yeah,
like, you weren't protecting yourself." Like, this was a very easy win for me because you just didn't protect yourself.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to hear that, and he's being all pissy about it and like grumble. And I was like, okay, whatever, man. Like, fuck. So, but then I've seen other players who've done some not good shit in wargaming before, where they're like taking extra movement than they, like, not being precise in their measurements. Like, they were taking an extra inch or shit like that. And it's kind of like, okay, you're kind of being a sleaze. Like, don't do that. And, you know, there's times where I've had to confront a player about that, where I'm like, dude, move your model back. You took an extra inch. She's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, no, dude, you fucking, like, you took an extra inch. Here, I'll prove it to you. And it's like, because you've been going consistently. Like, so if this is how all the widgets match up, how are you over here? It's because you're not you're not measuring from your base. You're moving your stick a little further to get that little bit of extra distance. Like, don't do that. Like, and it's kind of like those players that I'm like, I don't really want to play this scenario on. Like, locally, I think we'd be fine, except for that one guy who plays with Droon.
Yeah. Hate him.
Yeah, no, it's you.
Yeah, I know.
Jesus.
Nothing about my answer changed.
But yeah, like that. Like, I just want the scenario to be like, you do these things, you get these points, and it's not just because I can totally see the instance where someone just goes like, "Hey, I picked 4." And they also have 4, and then they try and say they had 3 to like turn 4 off, and they're not controlling 3 at all, so they also turn 3 off or something, and it's just like, nah, dude, your piece of paper says 4. Well, I meant 3, and it's like, oh fuck, I don't want to have this fight. I'm here to play a game.
Yeah,
and it's like I don't want to have a fight over the game when I'm trying to play the game, and to me, this one's just asking for it.
Yeah, exactly. It provoke like it's. Unfortunately, sets things up for bad faith actions, or you are reporting your numbers to a third party who now has to sit there and adjudicate a game for you.
Yeah. Look at the owner of the store to come down and be like, fucking sit there for the next 3 hours.
Yeah.
That guy's going to be thrilled. Want me to talk about off balance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should look at that one as well.
So I like new off balance. They literally took what we said in the scenario podcast and did it. Yeah, they moved all the objectives 6 inches forward, and I think it's better for that. It makes the 2 middle objectives more relevant to be destroyed early on for early points and free up board space. It makes those 2 back-end objectives more relevant at near the end of the game to go and take and capture. I didn't mention this, but all the zones that were 12 inches have now changed to 9 inches.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because a March 5 regiment couldn't march charge their opponent on a roll of 6 if both of them were at the edge of the zone, both in it, contesting it.
Yeah.
Because they would be more than 11 inches away. But now that they're 9, you guys can both be touching the zones, and your opponent only needs to roll a 4, and with a reroll, you have a 75% chance of getting into it. So it's more easy for the infantry to get into each other and start those fights, what I really like.
Yeah.
I think the 9 inches were better. It also frees up more table space to put terrain, but also now you can put terrain in zones, so that doesn't really matter. But, you can kind of move some stuff around a bit more, and it's a lot nicer.
Yeah. Having them be 9 inches makes it so that as long as you're holding it, you're under threat, and that it should never be too easy to like turtle up in this game. Like, you should always have to either be fighting or extending yourself to fight, and I think that's what this helps with. It just helps direct the combat better than bigger zones did.
Yeah. For scoring, you get 4 VPs for killing an enemy objective marker. You gain 2 VPs for each zone you're scoring. You gain an additional 1 VP if you're seizing 2 or more. And you gain 2 VPs for killing the warlord. Another thing I like is that a lot... I'm just gonna quickly do a quick read. Let's define blank, whatever this is. They took a lot of kill points out of all the scenarios. Like, if there is kill points, it's 9 times out of 10 it's the warlord. Here we go. Melee still has kill points. That is fine. Players gain 2 views, they slay the enemy warlord. 2 for enemy characters, 2 for enemy round. Melee's fine having kill points. Foresight doesn't have it. Head to head has it. Yeah, it's really just do those 2 scenarios, head to head and melee. What I'm really happy about in the scenario packet, truthfully. And another one is they removed all hammer and anvil style deployment tables. What I do like. And they literally grind them down sideways, and I think they moved the 6 inchers like more towards the middle and turned the 12 incher into a 9 and said, there you go. And I think that was fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to, where is it? Is it off balance? Yeah, off balance. Where the fuck is there? No. Eventually I'll find it. There you go. Yeah, I like the changes. I don't. Yeah, objectives are friendlies. I don't have any issues with that. And in this situation, it's very easy for. Well, sir, it's not super easy to go get the enemy closer objective, what's like 6 inches off the halfway point, because at that point, someone's going to countercharge you. Yeah. But you can go for it and get it done if you just want to get those 4 points and probably secure it. And once again, those objectives in the back, you can go wrap up near the end of the game to go get. So I do like new off balance more than I did before.
Yeah. Overall, this like with the extent of the because even so, I know people you're saying have not great opinions about declined flank. It wasn't that bad for me.
Okay, yeah. Talk to me about this. Talk me through this one. That's fucking weird as shit.
So at the end of each supremacy phase, the first player chooses one of 6 objective zones, and the second player does the same. Second player cannot choose the same objective zone as the first player. Until the end of the round, you don't gain objectives for seizing those objective zones. During the victory phase, you get VP for the objective zone that you're seizing, and then you get an additional 2 if you're seizing 3, and an additional 1 if you're seizing all of the objective zones. I did see a bit of the conversation that was going on about this scenario and how the scoring is messed up.
Oh, yeah?
just yeah, not enough that I can speak to it confidently, but I guess there's some weirdness about the scoring. I think so. This kind of falls into the same problem as the other one, where choosing to turn off an objective every turn, because you can't really or I mean, some factions can, I guess, but for the most part, you generally can't just easily swing a unit from one objective to another, even if you position cleverly. I don't think it's really that much of it. It's a non-decision in wearing the skin of a decision.
Oh, okay. Just like Flux Power?
Yeah.
It's a draw
exactly.
event where it gives you +2 clash, so you can go up to clash 5 and you inspire reroll 6s instead of +2 attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a non-decision.
Yeah.
Hidden in a decision.
Exactly.
Yeah, just looking at it, I don't mind where the scenarios are. I don't mind the staggering of it. Because if you want to get into your opponent's stuff, you can't move through your stuff because it's, the shortest distance is a straight line. So if you want to get into your stuff to score it, and then you got a wheel to turn to get into your opponent's stuff. So it kind of gets into these diagonal fights, what's fine, because that's just how the scenario develops. And if you want to go straight for it, you're kind of going through some no man's land where you're not going to be moving through stuff. For sure, you're probably shutting down your opponent's stuff while they're shutting down your stuff. So you're going to need 2 to 3, you're basically just going to need something on all 3 of your scenarios just to shut down your, just to score 2 things for sure. But then you need enough to push forward and get into stuff. So it's kind of, I want to play it, that's for sure. I think there's something going on here, but it is weird for sure. And the thing is, I don't think it needs the removal of shutting down zones. I think you could just play it straight up as 6 zones.
Yeah.
And it would still be a good scenario.
Yeah.
I had to go check Forlorn Hope. It still has the no reinforcement line section at the middle 2 feet.
It's a rough one.
Yeah. Good old Forlorn Hope. Got anything else to talk about?
No, I feel like I think that's a Ramblecast, all right.
Yeah, sometimes we just want to talk about the game and what's going on with us.
Yeah.
So, thank you for listening. BonkTable has a Discord. You'll see that in the show notes or description below. BonkTable has a YouTube channel, also in the show notes or description below. We do lore readings. I know I said I do one every month, but they kind of got a little too big, and it was a lot of editing just to so I could say words properly. So I'm kind of doing shorter snippets, and I recorded a couple of those, so those will be out. kind of spread throughout the month, and I think that's more doable, is just kind of like do focus shorter snippets and just kind of release them like every maybe 2 a month or something. I don't know, whatever I feel.
Nice.
And yeah, hope everyone enjoyed.
Yeah, have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Bye.